Good morning, everyone. I want to share this with you because it leads into the opening meme. And I think that it's probably a good article to go through with some people who you care about. I survived communism, now it's back veiled as environmentalism. Actually, this was an outdated article. This is from January 28th. It's been accelerated under it's for your safety, comrade, COVIDism. Okay? It was scientifically proven that communism is the only social economic system providing the masses with justice and equality. 100% of scientists agree on this. The topic is not up for debate. And that's why I wanted to show this to you. Here is a bus in England. It says, it's not up for debate. Mask now. Yeah, right? It's not up for debate. The science is settled, despite the fact that the Danish study that just came out also proves or corroborates, or whatever term you want to use, that masks or no masks, you get healthy or you get sick about the same amount. And so that's very interesting of coronavirus, right? Wearing a mask may lead to other negative health outcomes, right? Like don't cover up your intake pipe. That's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. And especially when the controlled studies, the peer-reviewed controlled studies with a control group have this kind of consistency, right? Like when you get these controlled studies, not the modeling is garbage, right? The modeling is absolute trash. The modeling is what they use to justify this, but then all the cases started to skyrocket. Isn't that weird? Isn't that strange? But it's not up for debate. The mask debate is over. Wear your mask, right? It's up for debate. Everything is up for debate. Everything is. Like that's kind of the cornerstone of science, right? Like do you believe that there are tiny little things that could slip through masks like flies could fly through a chain link fence? No? Well, then maybe we should have some science to look into that, right? Maybe we should see if those little tiny things that fly through chain link fences or fly like flies through chain link fences can get through those masks that you're putting on everywhere. Maybe we should look into that. The science is never settled, right? Like you can always be looking for a more truthful truth, right? But when you throw out the science and in favor of pretend modeling and say that's truth, and if you question it, I don't even know what kind of ne'er-do-well you are, but you're signaling that you don't believe in this ideology, and therefore you should be anti-person. This made me laugh when I saw this. Indigenous-owned solar farm opens in remote northern Alberta community. It seems like the opening to a red-green sketch, right? Like, how many hours of sunlight they get in northern Alberta in January, eh, Red? Like, it's a really interesting. It seems like a something that 222 hours should put out, but it's not a joke. They're actually like really. You need the sun to run solar farms, and like the more north you go, the less sunlight you get for the longer part of the year, right? Like math is math, guys. It doesn't work. And do you know how these solar panels were manufactured? They need like hot hots, and that requires no oil and gas, right? The oil and gas industry. So CO2, right? That's required. Kian Bext says, Sidney Powell, Trump's lawyer, just referred to my viral story about Dominion sharing an office floor with George Soros' organization. This story is crazy. And more is breaking today. Shout out to Joe Warmington for being on the story first. Link here. And this is an interesting story. You should check it out. Kian goes to the Dominion Tides George Soros Foundation building. And he gets escorted by police officers. These guys are honest journalists in Canada. Journalism is not dead. These guys are doing it. So good job for being fearless. Thank you. And getting into this. But here's what Trump's lawyer said. This interested me because, well, I went looking for Dominion software. And just before we hear what Sidney Powell says, I'll show you. It says here, this is the Dominion website, and it says Canadian footprint, customers across the country, elections Ontario, elections New Brunswick, elections Alberta, all suspect now. All of them suspect. All of them have had votes changed. Ottawa, Winnipeg, Hamilton, and over 100 municipalities in Ontario. And I wonder if Guelph is one of those municipalities. We are. Municipalities in BC, Alberta, Manitoba, and Newfoundland. Yeah, and here's how I know Guelph is, right? And here's City of Guelph. Vendor, we'd like to have tabulating voting systems, right? Electronic voter list management hardware, right? We'd like some computers, please. And who was the contract awarded to? Dominion. There you go, right? Are we still paying them? Has anybody made a phone call? Guelph? You guys paying attention? Guelph? Because I'm paying attention, and I'm a public citizen. I'm understanding what the implications here are. Who brought this system in? Sidney Powell made a very clear accusation that she says she can back up with evidence, saying that there are people who are facilitating the sale of this equipment and then purchasing Office. And you don't put a system like Dominion in place to let it sit idle, right? You don't build, that's building a factory, and that factory prints money. And that factory that prints money, it doesn't sit idle. Every hour, every minute that sits idle, that's money that's not printed. You got to make that factory go 24/7, right? You don't build something like this to have it sit idle. We might use it next time. It looks like this election's going to go our way, so we'll take our finger off the weight. You don't build something like that to sell offices, which is the accusation that Sidney Powell made, to let it sit idle. You don't. It's like buying a Corvette, right? It's like you don't not drive it. Oh, I'll take the van today, guys. No, I'll take the Honda. You know, buying a Porsche, you don't want to sit. Or if you buy a Prius, if you subscribe to that, right? You want people to see you drive it. That's the whole reason for buying a Prius and for buying a Porsche. Here's Sidney Powell.
Get the Dominion voting systems put in time for this election. There's no doubt it has been used to alter elections in other countries. We know specifically that Venezuela exported it for that purpose to Argentina.
So the reason they know Venezuela exported it to Argentina is because the whistleblower was one person who helped, I think, either build it or was with Maduro and Hugo Chavez when they tested it, when they built it for Chavez to make sure that he never lost another election. And they thought this is a great tool, and they exported it. So how the heck did it end up in Guelph? Who's bringing it in? Who brought it in? Who made the suggestion? Are they still in office? I'm interested to know. Just an interested citizen who's not going away. Online voting in 51 Ontario municipalities marred by election day system load issue. Gosh shucks. The system issue started at 6 p.m. and lasted approximately 90 minutes, according to a statement from Dominion Voting Systems, but it wasn't their fault. It was some third-party provider that reportedly limited the system's bandwidth. Man, I can't believe that third-party provider did that and created all that 90 minutes of downtime for them to figure out how many votes they needed to install the candidates who have paid for the office that they provided, right? Interesting stuff. You should go watch the whole Sidney Powell interview. No, not interview. The whole Giuliani presser and all of that stuff that happened yesterday. Big stuff happening. Here's another one. Dominion, one of the largest voting machine software companies, usually gave $50,000 to Hillary Clinton's foundation per Rebel News Online. This is blatant conflict of interest no credible reporter can ignore. This is correcting an error that earlier was based on reportage. It was just given to Hillary Clinton. It was not the campaign, but her foundation. And here's the verifiable link if you want to have a look. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on. Getting into COVID, Dan Kelly is the sorry, Dan, I didn't mean to bring your picture up. I wanted to bring your profile up. He's the president and CEO of the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses, the CFIB. And he says he's bracing for today's news on potential deeper lockdowns, business restrictions in Ontario. CFIB is urging Ford Nation to ensure any measures are A, supported by strong and public evidence that business activities are a significant factor, and B, administered fairly between small and large businesses. If Ontario's small retailers, restaurants, salons, etc. miss out on the critical 5 weeks leading up to Christmas, many will not survive the lean months that follow. Current government support programs will be entirely insufficient to stop the blood loss. And CFIB will strongly oppose any measures that shut down small firms' in-store sales while allowing big box stores to sell the same goods along with groceries, pharmacy products. No small business-friendly government would consider such a policy. Now, I'm telling you this because Brian Pallister in Manitoba just instituted this policy. They can only buy certain goods. I think this is a dangerous precedent. I think there are other people that think this too, and I'm going to show that to you, but I think this is an interesting chess move. He's not saying we should all stay open because the coronavirus doesn't care or understand what you're buying. And so limiting large businesses to only selling essential items, who decides what's essential? Like, you get to decide what's essential. It's your life. You get to decide what's essential for you. But the government in Manitoba is trying to tell you what's essential. And they are telling you what's essential, it's like game over. It's already in place. So I think that this is a play to say, if big stores can sell groceries, then little stores can sell groceries. But if big stores can sell groceries and hoodies and all that other stuff, that's not appropriate. because the little stores aren't allowed to open. This is dangerous. It's a dangerous, slippery slope. I hope that he's talking about advocating for keeping all shopping open instead of closing down some shopping to keep it all in line and keep it fair. That's what worries me. Okay, back to this. Every small business is essential to someone: the owners, workers, and their families, the customers that count on it, the community that depends on its support. We need to find a way to allow small firms to safely operate until the pandemic is behind us. Small business owners get that this isn't business as usual, but more and more tell me they believe shutting down stores and services and restaurants is about sending a signal to the public that we should take COVID seriously, not about the specific risk of the business activity itself. I 100% agree here. I think it's the same reason that they're continuing to mandate masks, because without them, nobody would think that anything was going on. And the reality is, right. So back to this, Dan Kelly says, I'd ask everyone to think about how you would feel if eliminating your income and potentially ruining your life's work were used to send a message to others, and you hear politicians tell you that supports are there, but you find that's not entirely true, or that you don't qualify. Sorry. I hear every day from business owners who tell me that it sure doesn't feel like we're all in this together. And yeah, the private sector has had to bear the brunt of this, and the public sector hasn't lost a day's pay. And not to say that they should lose a day's pay necessarily, but there's a very, very clear divide, and you can't just unilaterally shut down businesses when you're paid on the public purse, right? Like, it matters. It will destroy a lot. Much worse than the virus. Much worse than the virus. Here's Brian Pallister's sanctimonious announcement about these restrictions. So hold on, I'll show you the restrictions first. As of 12:01 tonight, Manitobans can only buy the following items in person until further notice. This came after being lectured by the Premier about how we the people are failing to do as we're told. This is draconian and ridiculous. So you can buy food and beverages, products related to food preparation or storage, such as aluminum foil, saran wrap, and food containers, personal care products, such as soap, skin products, hair care products, dental care products, eye care products, deodorant, feminine hygiene products, razors, and shaving cream. You know what? I heard that the coronavirus can understand if you're buying razors, so no more razors. Forget razors. Like, we're getting to the point where, like, this is where they're at, right? Oh, toothbrush are okay, but toothpaste, right? Back to this. Health-related products such as prescription drugs, over-the-counter medication, vitamins, supplements, birth control, first aid, mobility or assistive devices, diapers, wipes, baby bottles, other infant feeding and nursing accessories, infant clothing, housing, household paper products such as toilet paper and paper towels, household cleaning products, household safety protection products, batteries and light bulbs, winter jackets, snow pants, underwear, personal protective equipment, and protective clothing for use in the workplace, tobacco, alcohol, cannabis, pet food and supplies, postage stamps, cell phones and cell phone accessories, parts and supplies for all types of motor vehicle and watercraft, major household appliances, hunting, fishing, and trapping supplies, tools and hardware, material, parts, and components for maintenance, repair, and construction of residential and commercial building systems, products related to product maintenance such as shovels, snowblowers, sand, and road salt. And don't go to church. Honestly, this is not about a virus. Here's Brian Pallister.
Hey to Manitobans, thank you to those of you who've been doing that, and to those of you who haven't, get on the team. Remember that the team is only as strong as its weakest link, and don't be the weakest link. Remember that the right to shop is not as important as the right to life. And we're bringing these difficult measures forward today to protect people and to save lives. And you have that power in your hands. So don't rush out to the stores and take advantage during the next few hours of the opportunity to hurt yourself and others. Please don't do that. And don't gather and protest without a mask on and endanger yourself and others. Do not do these things, because if you do, you will be ticketed and you will be fined. But more importantly, you will be placing yourself and others at risk. So I implore you, do the right thing. Get on the team. Manitoba's counting on you. Your friends, your neighbors, your loved ones are counting on you too. The new public health measures that were announced are being announced today and coming into force tomorrow at 12:01 a.m. require the cooperation and commitment of all Manitobans to make them work.
So that's scary. That's scary. The idea that if you're not on the team, you're not on the team, and we're all counting on you. More than 70% of the deaths are in long-term care homes, and the deaths are counted in such a way that inflates, in my opinion, the death numbers. The lockdowns are much, much worse than this virus just going through. If a lockdown worked, why are we going into a second one? This is unbelievable. Brian Lilly says people over the age of 80 account for 4.7% of Ontario's population, 9.1% of COVID cases, but 69.2% of all COVID deaths. We shouldn't shut down society. We act to protect those at risk. Read and retweet the column in the link. Yeah, lockdowns hurt us all. Here's the American Institute for Economic Research, cost of lockdowns, a preliminary report. It says, here's a brief look at the cost of stringencies in the United States and around the world, including stay-at-home orders, closing of businesses and schools, restrictions on gatherings, shuttings of arts and sports, restrictions on medical services, and interventions in freedom of movement. It's a very long list. I'm not going to go through it, but there's a huge impact to this lockdown. Here's CTV National News. Facing another retirement home lockdown, 90-year-old seeks medically assisted death. This isn't how things should be. This isn't how things should be going. But here we are. More Ontario COVID-19 education and enforcement blitzes on the way. The education is bunk. They're lying. I had somebody message me today telling me that I need help. Block. But I think that fundamentally, if you have, I'm going to go through the cases in a minute, but the cases here, ICU, we're at 146 in the ICU, and at the end of October, we were at 86. November 6th, we were at 86, and now we're at 146. Okay, I would love to see what the flu looks like laid over top. What does the flu's hospital curve look like over top of this? Because the flu's disappeared. The flu's gone, pneumonia's gone, all of those things are gone. And the death count is still relatively low. And in a situation like this, the deaths per day, often there's like 8 deaths today, and 15 of these deaths were in the last 2 weeks, and we just realized they were COVID now. And some of them don't have dates. Some of them don't have anything attached. And the other thing I'd like to point out is when we had people dying in the 39 and 48 and 60s, we had 551 odd cases, and now this is when we were testing much lower, and now we're in the thousands of cases. We've got 1,400 cases, but we've only got 28 deaths, and of all of those hospitalizations and ICUs are in the 500s, ICU 127. Is this a situation where our hospitals should be overwhelmed? We're supposed to be a first world country, world-class healthcare system, et cetera. And we're overwhelmed with 127 people in the ICU. Unbelievable. Oh, I got ahead of myself. Okay, so more Ontario COVID-19 education on the way. The Ontario government will be enlisting more than 200 provincial offense officers, in an effort to crack down on businesses in COVID-19 hotspots not following public health measures. The education and enforcement blitz is not a new concept. The ongoing inspections have been targeting areas struggling to curb the spread of the disease, the province said. Speaking at Queen's Park on Thursday, Premier Doug Ford said the inspectors visited more than 400 restaurants and bars, as well as 100 gyms and banquet halls over the Thanksgiving weekend. Most of the businesses are receptive to the visits because these inspectors aren't just about enforcement. We're educating our business owners. Yeah, we love it. We love it when the restaurant inspectors show up and check that you're making sure that all of your customers are applying. Like, the problem with this is businesses shouldn't be the enforcement arm of the government for their COVID restrictions, and they're being made to be. And the only way they can function is if they're made to operate as well as these COVID police. It's not appropriate. It's ridiculous. Anyway, and I don't believe that most people are quite happy to have them because they're being educated. Oh, lovely to see you, Mr. Inspector. Yeah, of course you can see everything. Mm-hmm. Yep, please leave now because we're doing all the things that we should be doing, and this is our lifeblood. And if you don't leave now and we get fined, that means we don't make any money today and it's a net loss. So leave now, please. Quite happy to see you. Get out. It's ridiculous. Anyway, back to this. We're coaching them on how to best protect their employees, customers, and the general public. They don't know. They don't know at all. Wear your masks and wash your hands. Okay, have a good day. Oh, here's your fine. Yeah, don't do that again. Ha ha ha. I'll see you next time. It is an absolutely just different world. It's absolutely ridiculous. Back to this. And the good news is the vast majority of businesses we visited, they're following the rules and they're taking the situation seriously. There's no other way to take this situation from any point of view. Like the fact that the government is unilaterally shutting down businesses because reasons is not appropriate. Okay, this was sent 23 hours ago. Ontario now has 150 patients receiving treatment from COVID-19 in its intensive care units, marking a key threshold that will make it more difficult for hospitals to provide for other care and perform scheduled surgeries. There are 200 hospitals in Ontario. That's an average of one person per hospital. Okay. And I said, after 8 months of dealing with this and knowing where the bottlenecks are, only 150 people can be in ICU without impacting our ability to deliver the most expensive healthcare system in the G7. Are you being serious? Where are your reporters asking for accountability on this? Like, this is not new. It's not a surprise. People know what we're supposed to do. We have over 3,000 ICU beds with ventilators. And so they're saying that this is a problem. And it's the funny part is, like, we don't even have 150 people in the ICU as far as, like, is it 150 today? 150, 146? 146, November 19th. So 23 hours ago, they were reporting 150, and from what I can see, the update says 146, but maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? I just think, like, we are in a slippery slope of it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happens. They're going to report it, and people will believe it and carry on as if it's true. Here's Dr. Tam. Dr. Tam has already warned that Canada is on track to hit more than 10,000 cases per day by early December if Canadians maintain their current rate of contacts outside their household. Get bent. Get bent. The idea, again, I say, the transmission of this disease is impacting people above 80. Are these people above 80 going out and partying? Like, it's... And it was 6,000 in early December recently, and now it's 10,000. Are amping up the rhetoric? It's just wild. Here's an Anthony Fury thread, and he says, Alberta has just added even more details to their comorbidity reporting. 57.6% of people who died of COVID had dementia, 23.6% of them had cancer, and as I previously wrote, over 75% of those who died suffered from 3 or more underlying health conditions. 87.3% of COVID deaths in Alberta had hypertension, which you'd think is a fact they'd want to get out there to help people with this condition understand how high risk they are to a serious outcome, but most other provinces choose to not publicly disclose their comorbidity data. What's the comorbidity data of the flu? Back to this. Here's the new updated Alberta page. Everyone should check the daily, weekly epidemiological reports from their province and the feds. These reports offer so much more contextual info than simply bludgeoning people over the head with daily case counts. Yeah, but all of it's magic numbers to make people worried. Like, it's like, ooh, look, it's 31 average per day and blah, 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 blah. It's just, it's made to make you feel scary. Made to make you feel scared, and the framework was made to stop businesses, to shut them up when they are asking for the data that proves that they're the one driving this when they get shut down. That's the only reason for the framework, to be able to say, oh, the framework, it's like, and I've explained this before, but saying to a 4-year-old, oh, it's the clock's fault that it's 8 o'clock. I'm sorry, I can't change the clock. I can't change the framework. The framework's what it is. The framework says you close, so you close. Oh, it's the health professionals, not me. It's not me, it's the clock, right? Politicians blaming everybody but the person who's responsible. Doug Ford is standing by as Minister of Health after Christine Elliott announced Canada and Ontario would receive doses of Pfizer and Moderna's COVID-19 vaccines. Don't want them. Thanks. Skip it. No, not a chance. No way. Here's Aaron O'Toole. He says, a statement from CPC leader who was just briefed on federal COVID-19 numbers. The only reason I want to show you this is because he wants testing. And he's saying that the failure here is the fact that we don't have rapid testing. The failure here is not looking at the real numbers and conflating deaths of anybody who dies with COVID with people who die of COVID. How many people have died of COVID? How many people has COVID been the thing that's pushed them over the edge, right? This is, as far as I understand it, people that died with COVID, and that's a very different thing. And I'm talking about these numbers here, right? So, these death numbers out there, these ones. So it's very, very, well, I'm skeptical, right? I'm skeptical. Anyway, here's what O'Toole says. What struck me is that 11 months after the news about the spread of COVID-19 emerged, after thousands of lives and millions of jobs have been lost and hundreds of billions of dollars had been added to the national debt, we as a country are worse off than we were at the start of this pandemic. Well, that's struck you as bad? Like that's kind of obvious. That's like, there's a lot of places that are worse off. Sweden's not so worse off, but everywhere else has spent a ton of money and really got nothing out of it, right? Like, and we've spent a ton of money outside of the country and been told we're racist and evil and all of those other things that go along with being the underclass in a communist society. Back to this quote, we're in this position. It wants to play politics because the government failed to give Canadians the ability to rapidly and frequently test for COVID-19. Nope. Elon Musk had 4 tests, 2 of them positive, 2 of them negative in the same day. And I believe that they were the rapid tests that they're talking about wanting to roll out. Sorry, but the reality of this situation is not we need more testing and doubling down on restrictions and more lockdowns and blah, blah, blah. We need people who are willing to lead us back to normal. Like, we need back to normal. This is terrifying. This video is from Germany. This is a doctor's live stream. The police are knocking on the door during his live stream, and they show up and they put him down on the floor. He's like, you could see how nervous he is here. He's like, I don't know what to do. And they're banging on the door here, and they come in and they just scream at him. I mean, can you imagine? He's like, I don't know what I did. And they come in and they're pointing weapons at him and they sit him on the ground. And welcome to, this is worldwide. Like, where do you go? Where do you go? Update on the Canada-US border. We've extended the current border measures another 30 days. Non-essential travelers between the 2 countries remain restricted until at least December 21st. Odd, right? Hang on, says Ezra Levent. You just announced 1.2 million foreign migrants will be fast-tracked into Canada. So that's essential, but Canadian citizens visiting the U.S. for work or family is not. Here's the Reuters article from 21 days ago. Canada increases immigration targets, says they're key to economic recovery. Do you believe them? Yes, we need more people here to fix our broken economy. Oh, and I'm just going to spend money and never give you a budget, and nobody will hold me accountable. This is what we're heading to. Yesterday, I saw this tweet. This is a real tweet. I don't have the link to it right now, but there's so many tabs I've got to get to. But it's Andrea says, hey, South Australian police, for the sake of my stupid husband who's doing Karen from Brighton Moan, can you please broadcast a very specific information about walking the dog? Hi, Andrea, says the South Australian police. You cannot leave the house to walk your dog or to exercise. That's where we're heading, okay? Unless we stand up and say something about this. And I wonder why we're there. The Dominion at the beginning of the show is instructive of why I think we're maybe where we're at, right? No one with a backbone willing to stand up because they've all been placed somehow using some possible system that you don't let sit idle if you've built it. Back to this. Here's Blacklock's reporter. Newly released records show jet setter Patty Haydu took more flights than previously disclosed after telling other Canadians to avoid non-essential travel. Hypocrites being hypocrites. This is liberals being liberals, right? This I'm showing you just because Justin Trudeau's wife is a jet setter and loved by the media, doesn't get attacked by the media, has taken money from We, which Justin Trudeau gave $1 billion, and then they revised it down to $500 million, but still $1 billion was given to We, 912 million to be exact. And then the whole deal blew up. But Pierre Poilievre's wife gets attacked. I mean, I think it's interesting. He says, CBC attacked my wife, saying that she only has a career because of me. Check the facts. Anna came to Ottawa knowing no one, taught herself English, paid her way through school and got a hill job 3 years before we met. Self-made woman, fought for all she has, made it on merit. I love this woman, says Pierre. So good job. Glad they're nicely matched and all that other stuff. His wife goes through the TMZ Canada or CBC News article written about her and takes them to task on it. But I think that it's interesting that if you're a conservative, if you're connected to a conservative, you get attacked. But if you are Justin Trudeau's wife and you don't. So isn't that interesting? And you get paid by public funds from a company that gives kickbacks, blah 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 blah, all that stuff. No, there's no story. So they manufacture one for Poilievre. Here's some interesting news. I said the other day we're not going to see these We documents. Poilievre says, tweets, Liberal Party back down and agree to unredact about half of the blacked out We scandal documents and hand them to the law clerk for review by November 24th. So yeah, that's a couple of days away. Interesting. I mean, do you think that it will be the important parts? I wonder what's in the other part. He says, now we'll push to fight for the rest of the We documents or whatever. Somebody says, I don't believe that Pierre would ever support such a socialist stagnation of our economy. We have so few decent MPs. Do they all have to be vilified? And Greg says, how could Pierre Poilievre, on behalf of the CPC headquarters, claim to oppose the Great Reset, yet also not oppose the Sustainable Development Agenda? The reset is the implementation of the Sustainment Development Goals. The reason I wanted to use that is because, fundamentally, that is the point here, right? Like the sustainable development, the thing that's been, like, Guelph is on the path for the sustainable development, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure Ontario is too. The documentation has been seen for the federal pathway to the sustainability goals. This is like big business. Everybody's on board, every level of government. And Greg's saying, well, paper tiger, basically is what he's saying. And that's what I was saying yesterday. Like, it's a lot of saber rattling. It's a lot of, oh, you guys, and then he votes for the sustainable development goals, right? Like, do you think that he's going to unwind that? I hope so, I guess. But I feel that hope is probably in vain, right? Like, I hope he does it, but don't hold your breath. Here's Holly Doan, this is Blacklock's reporter, and she says, Chair of Commons Natural Resources Committee ordered to apologize for breach of conflict of interest code. Jay Maloney cited for failing to promptly disclose all personal assets, including shares in SNC-Lavalin and oil companies. Ethics Commissioner contacted MP Maloney 15 times to remind him of his duty to disclose the investments and assets. Not only did he delay completing his disclosure well beyond a reasonable time, he also failed to respond to communications from the office for months. Well, do you think, the Liberals don't answer questions they don't like, including from the ethics commissioner. And the ethics commissioner, he can give what? A $250 fine? A $500 fine? Maybe, right? Like Toothless, right? Oh no, don't bite my toe. Oh no. What are you going to do, right? Here's an opinion piece. I'm not going to read it. It's just interesting. Trudeau's character must be called into question. How are we to understand Trudeau's serial misbehavior aside from his ability to, so far, get away with it? How are we to understand it? I think that there's a lot of context coming out about how we can understand how this happens and when it happens. Oh, not this. I was going for the Sidney Powell one. Yeah, I think that there's a lot more context here. You don't build something like Dominion to not use Dominion. So his conduct, if you can place the election the way you want it, and you own the pieces on the board, how could this happen? How did you keep getting away with it? Yeah, Jagmeet Singh, why do these weird things keep happening when people I misunderstood the vote, so I voted against it. Oh no, unbelievable, right? Like, at some point when you examine this, you have to wake up, right? A little bit. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe what is obvious to me is not obvious to lots of other people, I suppose. Stephen Gallibo, he wants more, I don't know, diversity in Canadian content. I'm not sure what Mr. Gallibo wants. But this is so weak worded. Like, there's not a lot of definition in what they're trying to do, but it's very concerning because I feel like they'll use it to crack down on media outlets like Rebel, like True North, like me. And when you're made illegal, so like if what you're doing, so this isn't illegal. I don't make a lot of money on this because I did make an okay amount of money when I started. I had about 7,000 followers, and the money made was not insignificant. But then YouTube destroyed their algorithm, and I don't get played anymore. So it's like $50 a month ish, right? Which is fine. Like that's okay. Whatever. I have other assets and web properties and stuff that kind of contribute as well. So it's very interesting to do this and see how this all works. But it's not for the money that I do this. But when it's made illegal, if they say that this is illegal, if they say that there's a link tax for everything that you can put up on a website or all of that stuff, they're not trying to do this for your safety. They're doing this to shut people down who are trying to formulate what's going on. And I don't know what's going on. I'm showing you the story based on the news of the day, et cetera, but they're trying to be sanctimonious and right and trying to shut down the people they disagree with through what appear to be above board legal means until you kind of look into it a little bit more, right? So watch out. This is a poison pill. This is the apple that is given to Snow White. This is, a trap. It's a trap. Yeah, it's a trap. It's not good. It's bad. This was a cool thread. All the beer stores in Northern Ontario are right by the railroad tracks. Go read this thread. It's a cool thread. I'm not going to read it right now, though, but it's a cool thread just to finish this off. And Boris, I said, you got to let Trump announce the laser weapons. Sky News is reporting, quote, this is from Boris Johnson, our warships and combat vehicles will carry directed energy weapons destroying targets with inexhaustible lasers. Prime Minister Boris Johnson explains how investment in the latest technologies will help the UK military. The lasers can kill the coronavirus. No, they can't. No, but we're focused on lasers for the Navy, because that's 2020. Oh goodness me. All right, that's enough out of me. Thanks for watching, everybody. There's just some crazy stuff happening, right? Like it's just a wild world, and like we still don't have a president-elect. The Electoral College hasn't sorted that out yet. We've got it. There's so much happening, and it's a Friday, and who knows what's going to happen next. I certainly don't know what's going to happen next, but I'll be watching. So thanks for watching me. Check out CanadaPoly.com, check out CanadaReport.co, check out SpeakingVoicely.co, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. And it's the weekend, so enjoy that too.